be starting, and we're live. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 91 of the Technology for Good show. Tom Raftery here, independent analyst, speaker, advisor, general all-around pain in the neck for people, I guess.
Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely.
And my co-host Chris.
Excellent. Devilishly handsome, Tom. You forgot devilishly handsome. Yes. Chris.
Windswept and interesting. That's what I like.
So Chris Kernan, principal consultant at Bluefin Solutions, an SAP mentor, and just general all-round lover of technology. Lucky enough to do some bleeding edge stuff in my work, and some other stuff in my private life. So yes, thank you very much for having me, Tom.
We won't go into the other stuff in your private life.
No. It's generally much better if we don't.
No, but what you mean by that is you're a hobbyist in IoT, and you start putting together little Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and stuff like that, and it's not nearly as naughty as you made it sound.
It's that filthy laugh that I have that just it turns everything into a double entendre. It's not my fault, so it isn't. But yeah, IoT, that type of stuff is just it's great fun. So it is, and we're living in a very exciting time for it.
By the way, belated Happy St. Patrick's Day. Seeing as we're two Paddies here, I said I'd say that.
Yes, absolutely. We did. We had a little bit of fun on our internal Slack channel that the world has appropriated St. Patrick's Day, and all the Irish people got together and decided that we would appropriate other festivals, and we scared ourselves with the idea of Mardi Gras beads. And that was just that was a conversation too far. So,
okay, that killed it right there, did it?
All right, shall we get stuck in?
We shall. So there's a truckload of stories to talk about this week. I had to kill an ungodly number of stories, in fact, because there was just way too many of them. We start as always with a climate-related story.
Yes.
And it's this one. It's about it's how February of this year was the hottest month on record, and that in itself, I shouldn't say this, but that in itself shouldn't be any great surprise, given that the last few months have been record months. But what's astounding about this is the margin by which February set the record, and I'm going to blow up the graph here so people can see it, because
I can see it.
It's just ridiculous. It's this graph goes from 1880 through to this year, and what you see in the graph is the monthly mean of global surface temperatures, a combination of land and ocean, and it's the monthly mean charted. And if you look at the blue line, that's the variation. The red line is the 12-month running average. The blue line is the actual monthly average. And you see, as you come across to the right here, from about 1980 onwards, it never really goes below the baseline.
Yeah.
And when you get to February of 2016, it's all the way up here. On the right, it's 1.35 degrees above the baseline.
Yep.
Now, we've said we're going to try and stop climate change at 2 degrees C and 1.5 degrees if possible, according to the Paris Climate Treaty. If possible, 1.5. This is 1.35. We've only got 0.15 of a degree to go before we exceed the aim of the Paris Climate Conference. It is absolutely stonking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those ones when you look at the graph, and as you say, you realize that I was comparing it against the 2 degree rise that the Kyoto Agreement tried to set, and you're looking at it going, considering how long it took us to get to 1 degree, and then the jump that it's taken to get to 1.34, and you just think, we don't have an awful lot of time.
Yeah.
And we really don't have an awful lot of time. It's insane. So it is actually really scary. And then whenever you actually look at the trend and the leap, is very, very telling in itself. And you do sort of sit and you wonder whether, there are positive, well, when I say positive feedback loops, feedback loops that just haven't been considered that are actually driving that temperature rise, because that's not in a model.
No, that's way off.
That's way off. So you sit and you think, is there a feedback loop that just hasn't been considered that's driving that, or is it the fact that something is past the tipping point and it's now moving at an exponential rate?
I want to think it's an outlier. I want to think, next month it'll have come back down closer to at least the red line.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying.
It is very, very terrifying. Very terrifying.
Anyway,
it's a great article. It's a great article, but it's long.
It's long. It's long. It's very detailed. It's a really good article, and we're not going to get into it now because we have way too much.
Yeah, we do.
Way too much to try and get through. And we've called the show Tech for Good because now that we've set the context, we want to get into the good. Yeah. So here comes the good. And
God, we need it.
Yeah, we do. We sure do. So this story talks about how if we doubled the amount of renewables being used on the planet globally by 2030, we could save, according to the headline, $4.2 trillion, according to research. Now, we got to preface this and say the research is from the International Renewable Energy Agency, so they might be a little partial on this.
Just a little bit.
And that the 4.2 trillion is at the top end, but it talks about an in between 1.2 and 4.2 trillion. So even if we only save the planet $1.2 trillion, that's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I haven't read down through the whole article because it's not. Well, actually, I haven't spotted in the article. What is the opportunity cost as well? Because it doesn't break it out whether that's taking in the account opportunity cost of doing nothing, or is it a pure actual net or annual saving? Yeah,
what it says is the net annual savings, and just to use your expression, from reducing that would be, yes, 1.2 to 4.2 trillion. It would. They also go on to say it would create more jobs, save lives from reduced air pollution, set us on a pathway to limit global climate change as well. They haven't gone into much more detail in this article anyway, and I didn't click through to the original IRENA report because there's just so much stuff to try and get through this week. It's unbelievable.
No, it is crazy, but it's one of those ones. Yeah, like the Guardian's always good for these types of articles. Mm-hmm. Better than the Daily Mail at least. But yeah, no, I must actually get a look at the IRENA report because they're actually quite readable.
They are, yeah. They're a good organization.
Yeah. There are certain reports that are absolutely indecipherable, but I do find the IRENA ones are actually quite digestible and also quite quotable as well.
Yeah. Another good report by another good company in this area is this one from GTM. GTM is Green Tech Media, and they do some great reports, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And this one talks about how the price for solar systems in the US fell 17% in 2015, which is pretty amazing. It's been falling 10% year on year for the last 30 years, and projected to do so for the next 10 years again. But and this is another really, really, really detailed article with lots of numbers, lots of charts and graphs in it. And you can see here it's broken out by PV module, so it breaks out the costs associated with the solar as well. Everything from the photovoltaic module to the electrical bill, the direct labor, supply chain, inverters, structural bill of materials, design engineering, and permitting. Yeah. And you can see for residential, the costs associated with supply chain overhead and that kind of thing are far higher than for the other sectors, the non-residential and the utility fixed tilt. Where is it? Yeah, you can see it broken out by quarters here as well, versus residential, non-residential, utility, and utility tracking, utility fixed tilt and utility tracking. But you can see that the particularly in the utility fixed tilt and utility tracking, the prices are coming down quarter by quarter.
Yeah. See, one of the things, and I assume that the actual report, because it is a paid report, this is just the thing that whet your appetite. But I'd love to see it broken down state by state. Yeah. Because then you can actually look at the effect of subsidies and incumbent utility pressure taking on adoption, and also and
tariffs versus subsidies. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would imagine that the actual report is much more detailed and would have that broken down, but it would give a really good insight into what the effects are, rather than listening to politicians who are setting their own agenda and things like that there and defining budgets and things, actually having those figures to hand. Yeah. Because, let's face it, the next election, we're either going to end up with somebody who is going to try and adopt their own interpretation of a free market economy, which will be extremely disastrous, and somebody who is a career politician and a deal maker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's true. The interesting thing is that despite all of the subsidies, all of the tariffs and stuff that are being put in place by some of the utilities, I mean, some of the states in the US are very pro solar and some of them are very anti. Florida and Arizona spring to mind and Nevada for states that are anti-solar.
Yes.
But the thing about it is, with the continued fall in the price of solar, you can even with the kind of tariffs that are being put in place, it's going to become inevitable. I gotta think.
Yeah, well, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. As you say, Florida and Florida is one that springs to mind for me, as you mentioned, because of their links with the legislature and the fact that in Florida it is illegal for anybody to operate as a utility. So if you're selling your electricity back to the grid, you're effectively a micro utility and banned by the legislature. But the fact that they're doing so little to embrace solar as a power source just boggles me, because
it's Florida.
It's Florida. It's here. It's viable. They should be. The utility company. Yes, they're operating in a protectionist manner, but they should be turning around and going, right, everybody's on solar, whether you like it or not, but you just can't sell it back to us. They're just
Or what they do is they roll out solar panels on everybody's roof, and they suddenly get a distributed power plant.
Exactly.
Which is massively resilient, because it's everywhere.
All that's going to happen is they're just going to keep pushing more and more money into the coffers of the legislature, in whatever form that takes, legal or illegal, mostly legal. And they're never going to win. They're going to keep pumping money in, and then at some point somebody's going to wake up and go, guys, you're so far behind the curve, and it's going to cost that power company so much more money to catch up with all the other utilities in the other states. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It is.
Whoever is running that utility needs to be run out of office, because they're not observing their duty to the shareholders or the employees of the company, because they're not protecting the customer's future or the customers. I forget the customers.
They always do.
Clearly, they are forgetting the customers and what the customers want, but they're not observing their duty of care towards the actual company.
Yeah. We keep going. The next one, again from Green Tech Media, talks about Tesla getting its battery cell costs down below $100 per kilowatt hour.
Wow.
Now, this is insane, because I remember being at an event a couple of years ago, and they were talking about, possibly getting batteries below $300 per kilowatt hour, maybe down to $250. And now they're talking about 100 kilowatt or $100 per kilowatt hour could be reached. And in this article, they're saying, sooner than expected. And Tesla are apparently well ahead of the competition. And the kind of figures they're throwing around here, they're saying Tesla's battery costs are currently like $150 to $200 per kilowatt hour, which is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And the industry average is 350.
Now let's remember how much Elon Musk took Nevada state legislature to the bank.
Oh yeah, sure.
He like what he put those people through in terms of actually, the process and getting the gigafactory there, and then what he got in terms of subsidies and tax breaks and employment breaks and all the rest of it. Wow.
Sure, but the gigafactory hasn't really started in earnest yet. So
true.
Those numbers are not from the gigafactory.
Do they not factor that in?
No, this is current numbers. They're currently 150 to 200 per kilowatt hour, and like I say, the gigafactory is only just ramping up.
Yeah,
it hasn't started in earnest yet. So the gigafactory will bring them well below its $100.
No, it will do.
It
will do
in a short enough time with the economies of scale that I get out of that.
Absolutely. I thought, whenever I read the article, I thought it had actually included the gigafactory, which is why I wasn't that surprised at the difference between the $200 and the $350 once you factor in the cost of the actual batteries coming out of the gigafactory. But if it isn't even hitting that, that's just stunning.
Yeah, and it says GM sees its battery cell cost hitting 200.
Yes.
Hitting 100.
2022.
2022. Yeah. So,
and that's 6 years away. That's not that far away.
It gives Tesla a huge advantage, though, doesn't it?
It does, but remember, it's Tesla and Panasonic who are running the gigafactory. So there is if it was just Tesla running the gigafactory, then there's a lot of IP and a lot of pressure that they can exert on the market. Having Panasonic there and Panasonic's diversity in its own product portfolio means that it'll actually benefit a much wider footprint of technologies, and Panasonic partner with a lot of other organizations as well, so you'll see that benefit dripping into the marketplace as well. It won't just be a competitive edge for Tesla, but no, it does give them an advantage, absolutely.
And the article goes down and puts up these graphs as well, which are impressive, because what they show is I'm going the wrong way, am I? Sorry. Trying to make them, there we go. That's a little easier to see now. So you can see there the battery electric vehicles to reach customer cost parity in the EU by 2021. And the economics in the US are still better for ICE cars, for internal combustion engine cars, just because the price of petrol in the US is cheaper. But you can see that the Chevy Volt battery electric by 2021 estimate becomes cheaper than the Volkswagen Golf internal combustion engine in 2021. That's for the Chevy Bolt. Over here for the US, it's not out until what is it? It's 75. It needs to reach $75 dollars per kilowatt hour before it starts to make sense in the US in terms of because of the price, as I said, of petrol or gas, as it's called in the US. Yeah. So
we're not far off.
No, we're not. We're not, particularly here in New York.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot. There's a lot of stories in transportation this week. This one talks about how the self-driving cars are going to be hitting the road in next year, according to this, because this Toyota, what was the brand? No, Honda. Sorry,
it's Honda. Yeah.
Honda, the Civic LX, they're releasing.
It's a nice looking car. It's not actually that bad. Yeah. Is that? But is that a Chevy? Because if you look at the top, it's not a. It's not a Honda badge though that's on that. But anyway, it's. Oh, I know what it is. It takes a look how Honda and companies like Chevrolet with its Cruise. So that's the Cruise. That's the Cruise.
That's the Cruise.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and there you go. That's it. They talk about it further down the article. General Motors set to launch a new version of its small Chevrolet Cruze this year that makes it the next compact car in line with advanced safety bells and whistles. So basically, there are lots of different companies getting involved in this, and they're adding. I mean, we're not talking about full self-driving cars, as in a car that you can, take out your smartwatch and, say, Kit, pick me up at the office kind of thing. We're not talking about that level of autonomy just yet.
Yeah.
But we're talking about ones that have advanced, what's it called?
Safety features.
Yeah, advanced cruise control, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as you say, the safety features so that the brakes work and they automatically stop if they detect there's a crash about to happen, that kind of thing.
Well, Lorna, so we have with the impending twins, we got a BMW 2 Series Grand Tour, and it actually has a field around it. So if for example I'm on the motorway chugging along quite happily, and if I'm passing somebody within a certain distance, there's a wee alert comes up on the dashboard that I am too close, or if that person is too close to me. Similarly, if it detects braking sharply ahead of it, it'll actually, I'll get a warning.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's not intrusive. This is the interesting thing. Obviously, it's not intrusive. It's not distracting to the point where I go, okay, who's braking sharply in front of me? Oh dear, I've just hit them. It's, it is once you work out what the reminder is, because it's unfamiliar to you to start with, but once you actually know what it is, it's actually quite reassuring. So it is. So yeah, it is quite cool, and it has lane drift and things like that there. So if I drift out of the lane without sort of turning the wheel or anything or making a move, it'll actually alert me to say you're drifting. So it'll give us a wee vibrate on the steering wheel.
Nice. And it's a subtle little vibrate in the steering wheel as opposed to big flashing lights or anything like that.
Yeah. No, this is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So these, as you say, it's little things, little steps. So that is.
Nice. And I see as well, then we go into the kind of the whole Uber kind of space here with the ride sharing, and there's a couple of stories out of that as well. And the first one talks about how Lyft and GM are partnering in this thing called Express Drive, which is a rental service which paves the way for autonomous cars. Basically, GM invested $500 million in Lyft so that they can. Yeah, and this is a while back. That's when did that happen?
Oh that was about 18 months ago, was it not?
It was a while back. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
and it wasn't that far ago. It was about I want to say 3-4 months ago, but it was a while ago anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
And now the GM are going to provide all-in rental cars to Lyft drivers. So the drivers will pay somewhere between $99 a week or nothing at all, depending on how many rides they provide. So if I remember correctly, if they provide 65 rides in a week, they get the car free. And there's a sliding scale below that.
Wow.
So, if they go below 65, they pay maybe $10 a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably in the article here. Here it is, yeah. So those who do it for less than 40 rides a week pay $99 a week plus 20 cents per mile. And then it slides 40 and 64 rides a week, $99 flat, and then 65 rides a week or more pay nothing at all.
Excellent. It kind of, see, it's an interesting one. It kind of penalizes, sort of the longer journeys, around airports and things like that there. But in sort of in city cabs and stuff like that, 65 rides should be eminently achievable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that's so yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a
So
nice
that's
idea because what it means now is that you don't need to own a car to be able to become a Lyft driver.
yep. It reinforces that gig economy, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can decide whether you want to be your Lyft driver today or whether you want to be, I don't know, something
An
on
industry analyst.
Craigslist, an industry. Yeah, exactly, an industry analyst. Yeah. So so yeah, it does. It makes the gig economy look look even more attractive.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it does definitely.
Another story out of GM is they bought this self-driving car startup company called Cruise.
Yes.
And I mean, the Cruise Automation out of Chicago, no, out of San Francisco, sorry. They make sensors that, basically turn regular cars into self-driving cars.
Mm.
And it's another move by GM to kind of jumpstart and get into this space. Obviously, they've been lagging on doing the research themselves. So
Yeah.
instead of setting up a little skunk works in the company, they've decided to just buy in the expertise.
Well, there's as many people have seen it, it's a very, very valid way of doing it. The question is how will they survive the the General Motors
Inertia.
well the culture.
Hmm.
Is it a move to pick up the IP? Is it a move to pick up the people? That's the that's the trick. We saw with Nest that the goal was twofold. One was the goal to get for Google, the goal to get both the technology, but also your man Tony
Fidel.
Yeah, they absolutely wanted him, no doubt about that. He's their Johnny Ive.
Yeah.
But when we look at things like WhatsApp being acquired by Facebook, that was for a different reason. That was to get the platform and the additional messaging application. That was to get the technology
And the customers.
and the customers. So, but not necessarily the founders.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no, it's cool. And the interesting thing is that it's about using the existing car, your regular vehicle. That's the bit I love.
That's amazing, isn't it? You can just throw this into a car and suddenly you've got all your sensors there and it's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fantastic idea. So, cool.
Moving on, and sticking with the kind of car sharing, Google Maps have now expanded. They used to, on Google Maps, just show you Uber.
Yes.
So if you wanted to go somewhere, you had your walking instructions, your public transport, your driving, and an option to hail an Uber. But now they've gone beyond that, and they've added other ones like My Taxi, like
Halo,
Ola, Halo, and there's a bunch of them. You can see it here: 99 taxis in Brazil, Ola in India, Halo in the UK and Spain, My Taxi in Germany and Spain, and Get in the UK. They'll sit
I'm
along.
going to have to have a look at this. I'm going to have to try this.
Yeah, likewise. And you can see on the screenshot here, they give you not just the options, but also the approximate pricing of your journey as well. So you can go, well, a regular cab's between $15 and $19, or I could go for an Uber X, which is $9 to $13. I think I'll go with the $9 to $13 option. Thanks very much.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing. In where I am, I don't have that taxi option. So I don't have that taxi option at all. I have car, public transport, walking, or cycling, but no taxi.
No, okay, that's
So,
right.
well, it is Northern Ireland. We are a little bit backwards. we only got Uber a couple of months ago, and there aren't that many Uber drivers at the moment.
Right.
So
yeah, I wonder. I'm just checking it here on my own one now, and yeah, it's still not rolled out on this one either.
Mm.
So I guess it's one of these things that they're rolling out over time. If I look at it here, I've got an option for a car, public transport, walking, or cycling.
Yep, same as mine.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is. It's probably different in the city, which again actually is amazing for.
You can see it there.
Yeah, I can see it. Which is amazing even for Google, because the context awareness or the contextual awareness of where you are and what it provides you in terms of options is actually pretty cool.
Yes.
Because that's seamless to me and you. Yeah. So impressed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll keep going. Waze now have launched a new thing where if you tell them what time you want to get somewhere, they'll not just calculate the route to there, but they'll also tell you what time you need to leave at.
Yes.
So, and I've actually had this happen. I was sitting at my desk the other day and I had a dentist appointment, and I had a notification come up on screen going, Tom, you want to start getting ready to go now? And I was like, whoa.
But have you enabled the calendar? So because I've downloaded this today based on the show notes, and within the app itself, I can't see sort of a drive later. So is that picking up from your calendar?
It must be. It must be, because I didn't go and enable anything in it either. It just literally I was sitting here and suddenly I looked down at the phone and said, 15 minutes, you want to start getting ready? I was like, whoa.
Well, like Google Now's had that functionality for a long time, so it has. But then again, Waze is owned by Google Now or Google or Alphabet, so it makes sense. But it is. I love the functionality. Having said that, I'm still always late. It doesn't. It tells me when I'm supposed to leave the house, and I have all the intentions to leave the house, but I'll forget something, or the dogs don't want to go away, or Anna wants to get herself into her seat. Oh, it's just I would be late to my own funeral, and I can give you all the excuses in the world, but I'm just late. It's just how I am.
It's pathological.
It is. It's ingrained in my DNA. I'm sure there's a psychologist somewhere who would have something very excruciatingly embarrassing to say about the whole thing, but yeah, I'm just late.
All right.
I've learned to live with it.
The rest of us suffer, huh?
Absolutely. Well, one of those things. I'm saying nothing more. I'm not digging that hole. I'm not getting into that hole.
The Waze thing is done using some of the AI that Google has been investing a lot of money in recently, and this is a space that's become really interesting in the last few weeks and months. The whole AI space, and you can see at least part of it here. I mean, we're seeing things like the car manufacturers are now starting to monitor the drivers and give them an alert before they fall asleep. The kind of thing that. I don't know. You mentioned lane drift is in your car, for example. That's kind of the things they're talking about in this story here. But it's more about tired and distracted drivers, and they make the point here that it's kind of ironic because it's designed in part to compensate for the auto industry's embrace of the internet-connected entertainment and automation technologies, which are also contributing to distracted driving. The people picking up their phone, not so much the auto industry's fault, but people picking up their phone and checking texts or whatever. So to compensate for that, they've started to build up more safety things into the cars to watch out for distracted driving and to alert drivers and say, "Oi, eyes back on the road, sunshine." I've lost audio there from you, Chris. I'm not hearing a word.
That better? Can you hear me now?
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
So must have hit the button there. The connected drive stuff and things. So I can stream Spotify across the phone but it means that because I have access to Spotify, and not just what's in the CD player or what's on the radio, I am challenged to sort of find a playlist and things like that there. So it would be very, very easy for me to take my eyes off the road and fiddle with my phone. As a result, I have the phone at eye level within my field of vision. So when I need to do something, I can without taking my actual eyes off the road. But there are people who have their phones down on the center console, not actually anywhere within their eye line, and things like that. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. Like I remember, God, it must be nearly 10 years. I was coming back from Athlone, back up to Belfast. I'd done a 22-hour stint recovering a customer system, and it was a 3-hour drive. Ooh. And I remember just outside of Clonus, there's an S-bend, but it's an extended S-bend. So you come in on a left-hand curve, you travel for about a mile, and then you exit on a right-hand curve. And I remember going into the curve, and I remember leaving the right-hand curve. I have no recollection of what happened in the middle, and it absolutely terrified the bejesus out of me. And it meant that it thankfully nothing happened. It didn't hit anything or anything like that there. But it was one of those sort of wake-up moments where I realized that I just had a very, very lucky escape. So I'm always really, really careful. I don't drive for any length of time if I haven't had like 5 hours sleep at a minimum and things like that there. I've set a lot of rules for myself that I do my best not to break. But the thing about it is I'm driving in Ireland, which is not a heavily motorway based country. Freeways and motorways in on continental Europe are boring as get out, and it's so easy to drift and lose concentration. I reckon the only reason why I made it as far as I did is because I was traveling on, A roads, not even there were some N roads and then some A roads, and you know what they're like. So you're concentrating.
You have to be awake,
You do, and that keeps you awake. On motorway driving, it just doesn't. It's just as monotonous. So that is
what I've done. Is I've got a little mount on my dashboard.
Yes.
From my camera. So this is actually a photograph of my car.
Yep.
And this mount here is on my dash. And this is my old phone. My new phone is considerably bigger. This is the iPhone 5.
Yep.
So I got the 6 now, 6 Plus. And this application that you can see running on the phone is a dash cam.
Yep.
And the dash cam doesn't just photograph what's happening on the road ahead. The way I have it mounted on the dash, it also takes in the speedometer behind.
Yes.
And it also does things like it tracks the GPS, and it's able to map the GPS as well as the speed and the camera, so it can throw up afterwards if you need it to. It can throw up a full map of where you were going, and run the map alongside the video at the same time. So it's
awesome.
It's really clever. It's really clever. And if anything happens, you just export to video, and you've got your file straight there. It's a very cool little app. And as far as I remember, it was free. And there's a couple of them. Just go to, I'm sure they're available for Android as well. You just go to your app store and type in Dashcam, and away you go. Fabulous.
Oh, that's brilliant. So it is. I like the fact that the data is exportable as well.
Yes.
So that's really cool. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do we crack on?
We will, because there's there's a lot of more stories to go. But this particular one I thought was cool as well. Blockchain there's a ride-sharing startup which is using blockchain. The startup is called Arcade City, and what it wants to do is it wants to share ownership of the company with its drivers. And it came about as a result of Uber's decimating drivers' take-home pay up to 40% overnight with no warning. And Arcade City quickly signed up over 3,000 what you suppose is former Uber drivers.
Yes.
And the app, what it does is it lets the riders review the drivers' profiles in advance, which is something that Uber doesn't do.
Nope.
And then decide which driver they prefer. And interestingly, drivers are free to set their own rates and offer additional services like deliveries or roadside assistance, or, you know, you'd have to expect Wi-Fi would be one of the things in there as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fascinating one. There's another blockchain story as well, which I thought was cool. And this one is a much more, you can see up here, it warns you right at the very top. It's a long read.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because it goes down through a different series of things that blockchain can do in the future. It talks about first, what is blockchain? And then who's going to use it and so on. But it talks about things like property rights, remittances, supply chains, foreign aid, identity, sharing economy. And it makes a case for how blockchain is going to become really, really, really important. Not just, I mean, we mentioned last week using blockchain for buying and selling electricity in a community for people who are generating solar power and selling it to their neighbors, that kind of thing. That's a use of blockchain which is probably never envisaged by the originators of blockchain technologies. And I mean, there's a lot more now in this article as well. They don't talk about the solar in this article, but they talk about lots of other things. So we're starting to see the rise and rise of blockchain now in things like ride-sharing apps, solar, and all kinds of other things.
Yeah, but the whole thing about the blockchain, it's verifiable, and it's so at the moment unforgeable. Yeah.
Immutable isn't that
immutable? Yes, yes. Like at the end of the day, the purpose of anti-piracy or anti-counterfeiting techniques is to make it economically unviable for anybody to make any money by counterfeiting the good.
Yeah,
that's the purpose. With blockchain, it moves away from that to the fact that there's because you're merging into a distributed blockchain environment where there are so many copies you couldn't possibly change them all. It becomes very interesting. There was a comment on LinkedIn this week. A former colleague of mine asked, somebody had put up another financial story about blockchain and how blockchain was going to disrupt finance. And this other person commented and said, well, what are the other use cases? And I came back and said, well, I see pharma as a great one, because using supply chains and using blockchain in pharma, you can actually control, or you can verify the legitimacy of raw materials and of the final product meeting FDA requirements and things like that there. And the thing about it is that you don't have to publish the entire blockchain, because you can actually put on the QR code the bit of the blockchain that it fits within the preceding chain and the current chain, and then you can track back. So you can from the master. So you put sort of the blockchain number and then the two preceding transactions in the QR code, and now you have a QR code that matches the blockchain, and it's just fantastic.
Phenomenal.
So, yeah. No, totally. So, yeah, no, this is the type of article I would recommend everybody reads. Yeah. So it's one of those ones. It's a great article. It's quite accessible. It is a long read, but the ideas are very well distilled.
They are. I mean, the idea of using it for land registries in South America, phenomenal as well. And was it in Ecuador? I think it was in the article. Really interesting stuff.
Oh, totally.
Anyway, we'll plow on. I mentioned AI a little while ago, and we see it here rising up with Google. We mentioned it last Friday. We did. The Google computer, the DeepMind computer, had AlphaGo was the name of the computer, had won 2 out of the 5 matches. It went on the Saturday to win the 3rd match. So it was 3-0 up against Lee Sedol. On Sunday, he came back one match to be 3-1 down. And then on Tuesday, Google finished off winning the last and final match to win 4-1 against Lee Sedol. So, you know, I think we can give up and go home now. The computers are taking over.
Do you know what? We can just go and sit on the beach. It'll be like Wally. We can all sit on our hoverboards and be like the people in Wally. So we can. So, but no, it did. I have to say, I'm glad he got a game.
Yeah.
Because it shows that the platform itself is fallible. It's playing properly. You know, it can be beaten.
Yeah.
It's you know, if they had have whitewashed, I think a lot of people would have detracted from the platform and said, well, you know, they just threw an arseload of hardware at it, and of course he was never going to win. It was a stacked deck, but he came back and he won one, which shows that the platform is fallible, and it was playing like they said it was, as in it was taking a leap, analyzing various things, but you know, ultimately it had to take an intuitive step to start with. Yeah. Which I thought was good. I thought was excellent. The next one, I love the next one.
Oh right, yeah, the inbox app.
No. The Microsoft, the one. Have I missed one? I have. Yes, I've skipped one. Sorry. Sorry, my fault. I wondered why I had 2 copies of the Go story open in my browser. I thought, obviously, I've clicked in the wrong place.
It's enthusiasm for you. It's enthusiasm.
I know. So
now, before we get to the Microsoft one, hold your horses there. It's a very quick one. It's just Google's inbox app can now reply to your emails for you. And the reason I have this one...
You did this in the week? You did this during the week, didn't you?
I tweeted it.
You tweeted it. I thought you'd actually done it.
No, I tweeted it during the week. And I tweeted it using this particular GIF. So that's maybe what you're recognizing, this animated GIF. I had that in my tweet. But basically what it does is when you open up an email now in the inbox app, either on the web or on your phone, it can come up with a reply for you, and you have an option to edit the reply before sending it, or you can just hit just hit send, and it sends the reply that generates itself. So you can see there, you know, I think it's perfect, looks great, I like it. It gives you options, then you hit send, or you edit first and then you hit send, whichever you prefer, and off it goes. And it's just for quick emails, and it's using the same kind of AI. Not the same kind of AI that went all the way to beating Lee Sedol in Go, but it's using the kind of AI that Google are creating. It scans the incoming email, makes what it thinks is sense of it, proposes a couple of responses that you might want to have. If they're good, you just use them and then hit send. If they're not good, then you just say, okay, I'll reply myself. So it's just, we all get a fucking ton of email every day.
Yeah, no, we do. My Gmail is just horrific. I think I'm getting over about 100 emails a day, which is weird. Actually, we all talk about inbox zero and things like that there, and on my professional account, I'm usually okay at it. But certainly on my Gmail, it's driving me nuts at the moment. So this would actually be really, really useful.
Yeah, it's quick and easy. Just hit bang, 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 and you're down through 5 or 6 emails in 5 or 6 seconds. It's really fast, as you say. Right. The next one though, go on.
The only thing about it is that, like, I use Cloud Magic, which gives me direct access to things like Todoist. So I can push an email directly to Todoist from the app. I'll have a look at Inbox and see whether I can do the same thing, because that's what enables me to do my Inbox here, to turn an email into a task, which I then have to complete. Without that, the email has to sit either unread or whatever to tell me
to do it.
It needs to be actioned. So
handy.
Yeah, very, very handy.
All right. So you were happy about this one, the Microsoft one. It's really cool. There's a number of stories popped up around this during the week, and the baseline of this is that Microsoft are developing a platform, an AI platform, for AI researchers, ostensibly, to use to test out AI within Minecraft. And the reason for that is because it's like an artificial world.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of that, they can quickly and easily have an environment for an AI to be trialed and tested in.
Yeah.
Now, it goes a little beyond that, and I'm guessing that's what you're thinking about as well. They call it AIX, and I've forgotten what AIX stands for. Artificial intelligence.
I think it's extensions or something.
Maybe, yeah. But they're going to make it available under an open source license this summer.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting in the two on both sides of it. They're taking this environment that they're after buying in Minecraft, and one that's hugely popular.
Yeah.
And they're developing an artificial intelligence platform for it. They're open sourcing it, and they're just going to throw it out there for anyone and everyone to use this summer.
Yeah. So here's one of the best. Here's a really interesting use case. So you could test. We've just talked about connected drive and AI in cars and things like that. There, you can actually take that open source AI platform and build a course that your car would drive along, and you could just slot in your AI that's going to sit within your car and have it follow the car around and learn and build a stronger network and a stronger neural net just by having roads. We know that Denmark, for example, has put all the roads in, the country of Denmark exists in Minecraft,
right,
as a downloadable map. So now take a self-driving car or a car that has AI built into it as an assistance, and then make it drive all those roads. And what's it going to learn?
Yeah.
How much stronger is that neural net going to be?
It's got a huge amount of context even before you sit into the car at all.
Exactly. So it's really helping with those types of scenarios where it's having to build experience, and you can build that experience in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is. And I mean, just sticking with open source for a minute, I saw this story coming out of the White House, which I thought was fascinating. It's how the White House want to have all software that's generated for US government be made open source.
Yep.
I mean, it makes a ton of sense. It really does. But they first of all want it to be shared so that if it's generated for one government department, it's available for all. But then as well, they want it made open source as well. So I mean, like I say, it makes a ton of sense. But it also, I mean, it saves an enormous amount on people not going and developing the same software 3, 4, 5, 6 times for different departments of government in the US.
Yeah. It's see, I can see a couple of sort of, I'm not going to say issues with it, but certainly a couple of challenges with it. And it is to do with intellectual property and individuals and things like that. When I move from one company to another, I take some. Oh, I have to be careful here. You may end up moving documents or keeping 1 or 2 choice documents as templates and things like that there, and that's fine, and you can reuse them and adapt them and put lift the sections and dump it into your new company's format. Okay, now developers do a similar thing with libraries and that sort of stuff. Okay, and one thing, so if you move, if you're working for, let's say, the Obamacare website, and you've worked on some libraries and things like that there, and then you leave and you go to a commercial entity, and then you reuse that library or parts of that library, some of the functions in that library, into a new library, where do you stand legally on that? How does that actually work? At the moment, when you're working with commercial entities and things like that, they're usually closed source anyway, so you can do that. so you can. It's just nobody ever inspects the code and makes the link. With open source software, it's all there. Somebody could catch you eventually.
But if it's open source, it's open source.
It depends on the license, though. Open source doesn't just mean
No, I get that. I get that. Yeah,
so it's interesting. I like it. I like the idea. We've seen some great moves forward with the GDS, the Government Digital Service within the UK.
Yeah.
So we have I know Monk Chips. James is a great fan of GDS. Stuart Laughlin and Diginomica, not quite so much, but or is it Derek Deprez also? He covers digital as well for Diginomica. But anyway, it's one of those things. I like it. I think America has a long way to go before it reaches sort of the transparency levels in the UK. But in the UK, we don't have this open source push.
Yeah.
So we don't. What we have is a push to use smaller vendors, small to medium-sized vendors, which would, by consequence, have this effect of using a lot more open source software and driving that type of agenda. But it's good to see.
No, it's a cool idea. Where you'll have to make or break, where it'll fail or whatever, is, as you say, it's not so as much the idea as the implementation.
Yeah, no, completely.
So,
but you have to start somewhere, and this is a great place to start. And it'll be interesting to see how the next administration takes it forward, because
it'll be interesting to see who's in the next administration.
Well, yes, there is that. There is that. It never. I'm always constantly reminded about Yes Minister, where the civil service within the UK is the unofficial check and balance against policy idiocy.
Sir Nigel.
Yes, and I know I've brought it up before, but the writing on that, some of the things that they talked about. There's a great YouTube clip or a great clip from it about a parliamentary subcommittee, and the way the language is used, and it's just absolutely amazing how he ties people up in complete irrelevant sentences, but looks as if he's actually saying something. But anyway, let's carry on. It's a fabulous sitcom. I highly recommend people watch it. It is a true, it's a scarily true representation of the civil service. I know people who work in the civil service, and they look at it and they go, that isn't a million miles away from the truth. And you think, Jesus.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you sit and you look at them and you go, I'm glad you're there, because some of the policy decisions or some of the policies announced are just total stupidity. I'm so glad you're there to stop them implementing them through organizational inertia. But anyway, no.
All right. We'll plow on.
Yep.
So we're kind of heading into a privacy and security kind of section of the show now, because there was a number of stories on this during the week. This encrypted messaging app, Perio, launched on both Android and iOS during the week. And there's a bunch of them out there at this point. What's nice about this one is that all the code for it is available on GitHub under an open source GPL license. So that's quite nice. And one of the guys behind it is a guy called Nadim Kobesi, who is also the person behind the CryptoCat encrypted chat app and the Minilock file encryption software, which is also he's also behind the Perio app. Founded in 2014 and based in Montreal. So if you're interested in security and privacy, you might want to check out Perio. Sticking with encryption, Facebook, Google, and WhatsApp are planning to increase their encryption of user data, which is good. Apple have stuck their neck out, and for a little while we're kind of all by their lonesome.
Yeah.
But then the other companies started getting bored, and now they're announcing that they're going to increase their encryption as well. As you see there, WhatsApp is already quite secure as a messaging app, but they're going further, and they're going to totally end-to-end encrypt any calls that are made
Oh, right.
on the service. So that's something they haven't done to date, but there's a WRTC protocol that's out there. They're going to
Yes.
use that, and it's a standard secure calling platform that they'll be using. So that'll be ready soon enough. There's no date on it that I've seen.
The best thing I saw this week was the the tweets from the security commentators about the filing the US government made and Apple's responses. Jesus, I really would not like to be the technical person who fed into the government filing, because he was taken to school. He was taken to school in a big, big way.
Yeah.
And I do feel sorry for them from the point of view that they, they're under pressure, they're underfunded, and all the rest of it. And he was probably given about half an hour to feed into a legal document that was then submitted. And I do feel for him. But I'm glad he was taken to school, and what was in the document was just torn to shreds by Apple. I did love the subtext. If it pleased the court, we would like to Apple would like to tell the plaintiff to go and do one in decidedly more colorful language than I just used. Yes, but anyway, go on. The encryption report card.
Yeah.
Transparency.
So this is Google opening up and being a bit more transparent about the levels of encryption they have, and you can see that they have it charted there. And you can see you've got your 100% up here. Some of them are increasing, so the advertising is increasing. That's going to be a tricky one to do, because they want to with the advertising, they want to see what people are looking at. So that's tricky for the email as well. So the Gmail application, although that's at 100%.
That's at 100%. So they must have a way.
Yeah, finance is pretty flat going across. News has increased slightly, but kind of plateaued. They've said themselves that they're not quite there, and that they've a little bit to go on it. They say roughly 3/4 of the requests from Google products use SSL. So the important take-home message from this is they are, as you said, Chris, they're being transparent about it. In fact, it is a transparency report. And they're saying, look, we know we're not perfect, but here is where we are now. And this will help us, having put that out there. That sets a kind of baseline, and it tells us where we need to go from here. And we'll report back in time, and we'll show you the improvements over that time. Yeah. Another story from. Sorry, go on.
I was about to say, the importance of these reports, and this is something. When publicly traded companies like this do this affects share price. When they release these documents and they fall short of their expectations
or targets,
targets, it directly affects their share price. This is not a move that a company like Google would make unless they were sure or 100% committed to doing this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it is, definitely.
The next story I was going to show up is a Microsoft one, and it's a nice one. I don't know if you've used Outlook.
I have.
On your mobile.
Yes.
Yep, I have it on mine as well, and it's actually really good. It's one of the best mail applications for mobile that's out there, because it doesn't just do the email, but it also has the calendar built in as well. So it's nice to have the two things in the one app, and well linked, and it's got storage and everything else in there as well. Yeah. But they've now on iOS. This is an iOS only story, but they've introduced a require Touch ID option. So that if you are an Outlook user on iOS and you have a phone which has the Touch ID on it, you can now turn that on for Outlook. That's pretty cool, because it's the only mail app I know that has Touch ID built into it.
On the Android platform, you can. I think there's on Cloud Magic, and I think on the Android app or on another Android mail. I can't remember which one, but you can set it up that it requires an additional PIN, and it means that you can have two mail apps. So you can have the iOS mail, and then you can have the Outlook mail. Your Outlook mail you could have for business and have it secured using the Touch ID, and nice. It means that people with little hands can't go into your email account and send emails. I'm not saying she's done that, but she's come pretty close once or twice.
You're not talking about Donald Trump?
No.
I heard the little hands. I was kind of going, that's a Trump reference.
No. I'm talking about Anna. Definitely not Donald Trump. No. But no.
And I got to say, one of the cool things about Outlook as well is when you're setting it up, it works with any email server. Yeah. So I've got several of my Gmail accounts linked to my Outlook mail on this phone. So, very handy for that. It's not just for Outlook email. It's not just for Microsoft email. It'll work with any email provider at all.
Nice.
Within reason, I guess. Almost any, I should say. Probably not every. Sticking or going back to Google, they doubled their reward for hacking a Chromebook from $50,000 to $100,000, and this is on the basis of they put a reward up saying if you can hack this Chromebook, you'll get $50,000. Nobody managed, so they're now trying to make it. They're trying to give a bigger incentive, I guess, to people. They're specific rules around what it is you have to do to be able to get there, but they just want to make sure that the Chromebooks are as secure as possible, and they're saying you can if you can hack into the Chromebook, we'll give you 100,000. In other words, if you are aware of a vulnerability, you can either sell it on the open market or you can give us access to it and we'll give you $100,000. So
yeah, I think the key thing is that there have been submissions, so it's not like nobody has submitted. Although I have read through the rules, and the rules are pretty strict. I think maybe the rules are a little too strict, but it's their bounty program.
Yeah.
and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
It is. It is.
Come on, let's whip through these because
you're under pressure.
I'm under pressure. I'm already late, so I am.
Okay.
Yet again, I'm late. There's a surprise. And here we have the exemplification of Chris's lateness. But anyway.
So Facebook are putting up a messenger bot store, and that's interesting because, what this article talks about, and it goes in probably what will turn out to be a bit of hyperbole, but they talk about how the Apple App Store, when it was launched, no one could have foreseen how phenomenal it would grow and become. And the fact that there was only a few million people with iPhones when it launched, whereas now there's 900 million or so with Messenger, and now Messenger or Facebook are likely to announce a Messenger bot store at their F8 conference, and it's going to be enormous and amazing and blow everyone away. And I guess we'll wait and see if they'll announce it, and if they do, how amazing it'll be. Messaging is the new black, apparently, so there's a good chance. It'll be successful.
Yeah, I think it will be, and only for the fact that when we look at Slack, for example, and we look at the how many people have integrated bots into Slack and how useful they are, I find that this is a logical extension of that.
True. That's true.
So what I can actually see is, I don't know if you remember, there was the guy who runs his family and his house on Slack. I can now see you interacting with the messenger bot, a messenger bot to say, book me this, do that, and it will run your entire life.
I'm sorry, Dave, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. But anyway,
we're after falling back into AI again. Yeah,
yes.
We'll break out of that and head to cloud for a second, because Apple have announced that they're going, or they haven't announced, have they? Where did that come from? I've forgotten. They're moving some of their cloud and services from AWS onto Google's cloud. So it's a curious one. And they're talking about, you know, it being somewhere between $500 and $600 million worth of business that Amazon are losing. And it comes around the same time that, was it Spotify moved out of them as well?
Was it Dropbox?
Or Dropbox?
It was Dropbox moved away.
That's right. That's right. And I think in fairness, the two stories are very different. I think Apple's moving away is probably a good move. A, they're diversifying, and B, they're getting ready to take everything in-house.
Yeah.
That's my read on that one. The Dropbox one, I think, is an asinine move on Dropbox's part, which they will regret. Yeah, because in Apple's case, Apple have got an enormous war chest of money.
Yeah,
they can afford the capex of building enormous data centers globally, which they're doing.
They have to, because they're getting stung left, right, and center by US senators and stuff. By having this war chest outside of the United States, they have to invest it.
Yeah.
So that they have to turn it into
something.
Yeah.
Whereas Dropbox, they dropped their apps program where they were developing email and they were developing other things like that, and instead they've gone and they've decided to spend money on building data centers. Which is,
stupid.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough about them. There's one I think that you will like. This next one about the hard drive for the Raspberry Pi with 314 gigs of storage for $46.
I'm deeply conflicted by this one. I am massively conflicted by this one because, I'm conflicted because I don't really need a hard drive on my Raspberry Pi. I can attach flash storage, the memory sticks, to my Raspberry Pi and end up with sort of flash speeds as opposed to the hard drive speeds. So I'm deeply conflicted by this. The price per gig is phenomenally less than the flash cards.
Of course.
But still, I think it's one of those ones that I just look at it and go, why? It was the market crying out for it. I don't think the market was. I think it's one of those ones that's pretty cool. It's not enough storage, for example, for some people's media libraries and things like that there, which, the Raspberry Pi, like I'm actually investigating my Raspberry Pi's replacing my home server because I can stream so much. There's so much less that I actually want to keep.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. I think price per gig, it's going to be great value for people. I just struggle a little bit to think, did we really need it? Now that it's here, people will use it, but did we really need it in the first place? Don't know. I would rather have seen the emphasis be placed on flash.
Right.
And getting those capacities bigger and actually more usable.
I'm sure that'll come too.
It will. So, but there you go.
All right. That's our stories for this week.
Yes.
Have a good one. Thanks for your time and interest, everyone. And Chris, I better let you go.
No worries. All right.
I don't want to be blamed for making you late.
It's all right.
That's so uncommon.
I know. All right. See you later. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers. Cheers. Bye.